Hi, and welcome to the 2021 Campus Plan Updates Overview. This is Jonathan Watts Hall. I'm the Director for Student Success at the System Office, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to go through these instructions. I know many of you have done this year in, year out, and have been great at these, and every year we'd make small and minor adjustments that make them improve slightly on what we get. This year, we actually have made a fairly substantial change in what we're asking in the narrative, so I hope you'll stick with me as we go through this process. And there are some minor changes in the strategy survey, so there's a little bit of new this year as well. But again, let me start out by saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time today, and also thank you for the work that you're doing to record, document, and allow us to have a window into the work that you have on your campus. So here's what we're going to go through in this session. I want to give you an idea of what's new. We're going to talk a bit about the process, both sides of it, the strategy survey and the narrative report. Talk about submitting your update, and then finally what you can do how you can get help. So first off, what's new for 2021? So this year, one of the most interesting things is that we have a laser-like focus on the momentum plans. The focus for your update for 2021 is just that. It's a mid-year check-in on the plans that were developed coming out of the Momentum Summit 4. This is a fairly significant change from where we have been in years past, where we have asked for a retrospective look at the previous academic year. This is really looking at where you are with your work, and this is somewhat of a recognition that the 2020 academic year, the 2019-2020 academic year, was a year of substantial transition and disruption. And the plans that you built in February and March around the Momentum Summit really represent the steps forward that you're taking. And we really want to know where you are with those, and where you're still struggling and working, and also what victories you've had, what successes you've had out of those. We are continuing, but I want to sort of highlight the data visualizations and the data you'll get. Data visualizations in Click are actually updated regularly, and I would encourage you to go back to them. We will be getting you additional data workbooks. They'll be available in mid-July. And for those of you who want to tie in your mindset data, those will be connected in those. You'll be sent those as well. But those have actually already been distributed out to your institution this year. And if you need those, you're welcome to call me or reach out to me by email. And finally, there is an updated strategy survey. The strategy survey is the other half of the updates. And the strategy survey this year has been redesigned, streamlined, and placed into a new format. You no longer need an account to access it. So this is very new. We no longer have campus editors for the strategy surveys. Instead, you can access the link. It's available on the CCG website, and you'll see the link later on today. And you can share that link with others. So you should encourage just one person on campus to complete it, but as they go, when they pause, they can save it, get an access to that link, and it'll go to whoever else is next on campus if they want to send it along, or they can simply continue to come back to it. Very briefly, I want to talk a bit about the purpose and function of these. We always kind of want to make sure we're being clear on why we do these updates. Now, historically, we've done these updates since 2014. We have a long history of collecting this information, but there's also a really valuable point, and it's a way for us to see into the work on campuses, to see what's going on, to have an understanding of what's working, what's not working, and also what's emerging. It will also serve, in this year in particular, as the foundation for the work that we'll see in the Momentum Summit 5. The last year's Momentum Summit 4 built on some of the work that was being underway, and again, like I said, the disruption of the last year and a half means even more so that we want to make sure that we're really building on the foundation that we have right now in the Momentum work to support our student success, and we're going to use this as a focal point for our Momentum Summit 5 work. For institutions, this is really a great opportunity to sort of reflect on the work that y'all have done and the work that y'all in place on. Much of the Momentum Plan work has been sort of in the water for 6 months. And some of that work may have changed. Some of that work may need to change as you encounter different conditions on campus, different contexts, and also simply there may be ways in which you're moving forward faster, slower, or in just different directions than you thought it would. And it's a great opportunity to reflect on that, to refine your goals and objectives, and also to let us know, because it's a great way to show off your work. And I do encourage you to use this as both a way to show off your work and and really to let us know where you're coming up against challenges and where you could use some help and support. I want to assure you that people do read these. These are used. They are a document that I go through fairly carefully and fairly frequently, and this is a document that I refer to throughout the year. We also do use these, particularly in the strategy survey, but also within the reports. They're what we can draw on for both policymaker inquiries from the General Assembly, from the Governor's Office, and indeed from the board. It's a resource for us to pull together places to highlight when we are talking with our constituents more broadly. And they also are really critical, and I highlight this with respect to the Momentum Summit, but it's true across the board. This is a powerful way for us in academic affairs at the System Office to have an understanding of what is going on campus so that we can connect and create communities around practices that are underway on campus. This has been really critical this year, where we've been able to stitch together campuses that have had some experiences with new and innovative practices with campuses that really want to try those things. It amplifies and accelerates the power of being part of a system. And so the degree to which you can explain the what of what you're doing, it's extremely helpful for us to be able to then identify how this resource, this experience may be of use to other campuses. And finally, and really importantly, the plans are our presentation to the public. They represent our most comprehensive report on what we do to support students in their in achieving their academic goals. And we have a very long, continuous reporting history on this, and it's a really powerful document to show both where we've come and how we've gotten to where we've gotten today. So, with all that as background, I again want to come back to the fact that we appreciate these being done, but more to the point, these are really powerful tools that help us to understand how the work we are undertaking can be scaled, amplified, and spread across 26 institutions in the system. So let's talk about the process. So the process for this year is very similar to years past. There are two parts to the campus plans. There is the strategy survey. This is a survey that's completed online. It is this year being done for the first time in Alchemer, which is formerly Survey Gizmo. So there is a new link, and that may create for some new glitches. And I want to, at this point, send a very gracious thank you to David Gribben at East Georgia, who has been my beta tester on the strategy survey, even though he did not volunteer for that role. And we've worked out at least a few of those kinks, but as you go through it, I encourage you to contact me about it. The other thing is the narrative report, which you can see has multiple sections to it, but is really just simply an update focused on your momentum plans. And so these two pieces come together to be actually our campus plan updates. I want to point out some key dates. So the key dates this year are pushed back a little bit. The strategy survey, which usually closes in the beginning of August, is pushed back to the end of August. Plenty of time to get it done. The reason we do that is, and interestingly and neatly, this you'll be able to see the results of the strategy survey as they come through as you complete it. Equally, the November 5th deadline for narrative reports is the latest we have ever had the narrative reports due to campus or due to System Office, and it does create a fairly compressed timeline to get the reports turned around and released to the public. But that is our goal, to have them released on December 1st. So again, you'll get notices, and this year I'll actually I've made a promise to myself, and I'll make a promise to y'all that I'll be much better about sending out reminders in September and October so that that November 5th deadline doesn't sneak up on anyone. So CCG data and visualizations, again, we have those four really powerful data sets that are in Click. The data visualizations are really a great way to start to understand some of your progress. We have got them updated on a regular basis now, so those are a part of a regular feed that comes in. So those are up to date as of the most recent data pull from campuses into the data warehouse. There's a lag, so it's not instantaneous, but it is captured up to spring semester. there are institutional license holders. And so if you need an access to the Click apps and you don't have it, let me know and I can tell you either if you have a license and what the account is, or I can see if we can get you a license, because it's actually, there's a limited number of licenses on each campus, but we are interested in making sure that the people who need to see them can get access to them. There'll be some other data that will be released in mid-July through Excel spreadsheets. Many of these are simply things that don't really translate well to the Click apps. And again, like I said, the mindset data will be embedded in that release, even though you've already received that data earlier this spring. Again, I want to thank my partners in research policy analysis. The RPA team works very hard to give us the data we need, and they've been very good about turning this stuff around and making sure it's available to campuses. As you go through this, if you have questions about the data, or if there are specific types of data you're not seeing that you think you'd like to see, or if there's ways in which you would like to see some of this subsetted or otherwise pre-processed, reach out to me and let me know, and I'm happy to try and get you what you need to do if you aren't able to get that done on your campus. Again, part of this is just a way to help you see in aggregate what we're seeing. We understand many of you have access to more refined data on campus, and we encourage you to use the data that you have locally in addition to this, or in lieu of this. But this data is available to you, and this is these are the data sets that we do look at when we're sort of checking progress across the system. And this is just a picture of what it is. It's actually pretty cool. You can, if you haven't seen it before, you can drill down by a number of filters so that you can get to subsets of the population you may be interested in looking at. They look longitudinally over time. You can also do comparisons with both sector and with other institutions. So you can really drill down pretty deeply on this, and you can see trends in movement across the efforts that we've been doing. So let's talk a bit about the strategy survey. It is revised from 2020. There are fewer questions, and we've been sort of carefully pruning back questions that we either can get administratively, or that we feel that the answers are no longer questions we need to get from a survey, but are much more nuanced, or questions that are no longer relevant at all. We also just reduced some questions because we want to make sure that this is not an enormous burden. There is a new platform, so there may possibly be a few hiccups. It is Alchemer. Which is the former Survey Gizmo. This is the same survey platform that's used in many places across the system. And again, as usual, if you have multiple individuals to complete it, it's fine. You can save and return it. You will get it. When you get onto the, we're going to look at it in just a second, but you'll be able to do that. It's completed by August. It's asked you to complete it by August 31st. And there's the link. There's no way you'll be able to escape the link. It'll be all over the place, but you're welcome to visit it. And if by any chance your campus creates multiple surveys, I will be able to see them, and I will hopefully be able to align them into one survey so that we can have a comprehensive survey. But nonetheless, I'm hoping that this approach is easier for campuses to complete and requires less work on y'all's part to get through it. So let's talk a bit about the strategy survey. So we're going to see if this works here. I've done a little screen recording here, and we're just going to go into it and see. So when you're looking at this, you're first off you can go to the Complete College Georgia site. It's completega.org, and you can either get it through the highlights or under reports. So I'm going to suggest you go under reports, and they're under campus plan updates. There's the 2020-2021 updates, and on this page you can see you've got preview the survey there, and then also complete the survey. So if you want to look at the survey beforehand, you click there, and sure enough, there's all the questions that are on the survey. You can take a look at them before you complete them. You could fill it out on paper, I guess, if you like, but you can also go right into the survey, and if you're in the survey, you can see there's a little link there. It says preview the survey, and that opens up actually in a background page, and you can keep it open all the time. So let's go to the survey, and today I'm going to go ahead and fill it out. I guess I'll say I'm from Georgia Gwinnett College. I'm going to put my name in. So I'm going to type in my name, and I'm going to add in my email address. I'm going to note this email address is important for the survey, but it is not the one that necessarily will get the save and complete. So I'm going to note that. You go to the next page. Save and complete appears not on the first page, but on the next page. You can see it up there on the left. But let's just go ahead and start. Yep, there it is right there, the save and complete. So we're going to say, fill in. I know the answers to these. I know we have these special transition to college programs. We don't have these two. We do have that. I'm sure we have that. And then it's like, oh, well, I don't know who that is. So now I have to go find out what their actual name is. So I'm going to go and I'm going to hit here and hit save and continue later. So when I hit that, It's going to open up a window that's going to allow me to put in my email and confirm my email. And you can put in yours, or you can put in the person who you want to answer it. The important thing is that when you do this and then you hit save, it's going to allow you to return, so you can go right back, but it's going to send an email to you. So let's just take a look at what that email looks like. And this is actually really important, because if you look at who it comes from, and you can see up there, it's from Alchemer. It is not from Jonathan Watts Hall, it's from Alchemer. You just copy that link, or you click on that link, and you can go back in. And of course, everyone goes to the USG homepage, but you go back in and it sends you back right where you were. And you can continue on ahead. You can go back if you need to change details. You can go, obviously, next, and you can go forward. You can proceed forward. The only required question, I will say this, the only required question in the entire survey is the email and possibly the institution, because those two are things we need to know. But you can move through and throughout this survey as you will, and then simply save it and close it as you need, and then submit it at the last page. Survey's fairly quick to get done. I think it's actually, I'm hoping it will take less time, but also the other advantage is you will be able to see once you finish it, you will get a link to view a report of all the results coming in, and that should increase as time goes by, obviously, as your colleagues submit them. It may reduce a little bit as I clean up the data, but it will be also persistent for you. So you'll be able to see fairly quickly how many people do which kinds of activities within the survey. So I'm pretty excited about that, actually, and I'm hoping this goes well. But again, if you have difficulty or challenges with it, don't panic. You can email me about the survey. I can, in much in the same way, get you back into your survey if you can't find your link. I'm able to identify the survey that's most recent, and I can certainly get you that link, and I've actually had to do that once already. So we can get you back in. So that's the strategy survey. And again, really not an enormous load, I don't think, but an enormous benefit for us to have that look into your work. So the narrative report. So this is sort of the thing that this is the mid-year check-in, and this is actually substantially different than it has been in years past. Specifically because we are looking at the momentum plans that you developed. So some of this is going to be very familiar. Some of this is going to be but much of this is going to be a shift in focus. So we are asking you again this year, like, what's your change process? How do you go about change? That was something we added last year, and it was really useful to look at during the Momentum Summit. And we really want to know, how do you view change? Because what we are really getting down to is an idea that change looks very different on different campuses. There's no right or wrong way, but understanding how change happens on campus helps us to support you in doing your work, and also can sometimes help us to indicate where other strategies may be of help. Particularly, and other change strategies may be of help. And finally, even though we've got to focus on the momentum plans that you developed, we know there's a lot of work that you have on campus that you have reported on for years within the campus plans that you may still want to give us an update on. You're welcome to do so. We are not telling you we don't want to hear about it, but because we were asking you for a mid-year check-in on your momentum plans, we wanted to make sure we gave you the opportunity to focus on that without being overburdened with reporting across the full scope. But we certainly want to know if work, particularly if it's not included in your momentum plans directly, is something that we do want to hear about if there's updates you want to provide. The first section, and these are intended to be Word files, and as I noted didn't note, but on the previous slide is that there's no template this year. We've gone back and forth on templates, and feedback I've gotten is, this year will be the year that I probably get the feedback that indicates that we should have a template. Last year we got feedback enough to say that the template was a bit too strict. So we'll see. But we will have the sections, and I would appreciate it if you'd adhere to these. Section 1 is your institutional mission and student body profile. This has been consistent throughout the 7-8 years that we've done these. I would like to have a sense of who you are, and why you're focusing your work there. That's what the mission and student body profile sort of tells us. It's also an opportunity to provide an introduction, because these documents do sit out on the web, and they're a good introduction to the public at large of who your institution is. This section is unchanged from previous years, and I would expect that most of these sections are updates. But again, we do want to see how your mission and your student body drive sort of the priorities in the work you do later on in your work. So improvement practices, again, this is something that we introduced last year, and it was a fascinating section to review, and it's a very, I want to encourage y'all to be sort of thoughtful about how you structure your change on your campus. And if you, and I think with the momentum, with the last year and coming out of the momentum planning process, I think we've seen some changes to change management and change structures. And I'd really like to know how this is happening. My instincts are telling me one thing, but I'd like validation and verification from you through your updates. So again, if you'll help us understand how you understand your work, how do you learn from your successes, how do you sort of structure and focus your change on your campus, and how you sort of keep focused on your outcomes, that's important to us. I want to know about your big idea. Y'all were excited about your big ideas coming out. I was excited about your big ideas coming out of the Momentum Summit. So I'd like to talk about, and again, in brief, but this may also be the bulk of what you're reporting on, because for many of you, your big idea is overarching and inclusive of much of your other work. What progress have you made? And it's only been 6 months, 8 months, so the progress we know will be what the progress is, and what we would like to know is really sort of how is it going? What are the barriers? What changes have you made? What lessons have you learned? Because again, one of the things I want to drive back to is that this year we will be using these reports to support our Momentum Summit planning for Momentum Summit 5. So this is sort of a way for me to do a pulse check and to identify where we really need to support y'all, and where we may want to sort of highlight some stories, some success stories from campuses, and also bring together communities around where shared challenges exist. So want to talk about your big idea, and then drill a little bit more deeply into sort of these the resilience planning you did, and the global momentum support. So remember, the resilience update was both about looking back at your momentum year. How were things affected by the pandemic? How have they returned to normal? At this point, there are still some things that we are expecting will be still in flux about all of those markers. Again, the key markers around the momentum year, the students making a purposeful choice of a program, the students having a transparent pathway with specific milestones in place, the students developing their productive academic mindset. And then again, looking at how this work is supported across the whole campus, how is it communicated across the whole campus. And this year, particularly at the Momentum Summit 4, we asked about communications planning, and communications in a general sense of like how do you communicating across campus, also the use of data, and how you support faculty and staff. So what are you working on, and how that work is advanced. Again, these are mid-year updates. We're not expecting finished work. Some of this work may be in place and done and in the can, and that's wonderful. But if there will be certainly work ongoing, and we'd like to know what your progress has been, what your challenges have been. What successes and changes have you made, and where are you still sort of feeling like there's uncertainty in the air? And finally, like I said, we know there's other work that's not included in the core parts of that momentum plan that you may want to update us on, and I am very interested and willing to see that, particularly if this is areas where you feel you've either made tremendous strides or where you're just facing significant challenges. This is an important place for us to, as again, thinking about our resilience planning, to really start to think about how we can make sure that we're providing this comprehensive supports to our students that we need, and we're also making sure that our faculty, staff, and administration folks all have the skills, tools, and space to achieve their goals. So that's basically those parts. Real quickly on the submitting of the plan. This is unchanged because this seems to work relatively well. They're updated as a Word file. No PDFs, please. You will get your homework returned. Appendices, again, they should be a separate Word file. You can actually have as many appendices as you wish. I want one Word file, but as many appendices as you wish, and your appendices can be as long. One thing I didn't note in the previous document, but I will note here, we'd like a 10 to 15 page rough range. 15 pages is the limit for and it's a soft limit. Obviously, some is 16, 17 pages. If you find yourself at 25, let's have a conversation. But your appendices can be as long as you need them to be. They can be data. They should be data that's reflected in your report. I mean, a full data dump is not necessary. But if you feel that there's data that really supports the work you're doing, please feel free to put that into an appendix. They should be submitted through your provost office. So the provost would please send them in. They can either submit them online through the completega.org site at submit_2021, or directly to the CCG email account, ccg@usg.edu. That comes to me and a couple other folks, and we'll be excited to see it, and we will acknowledge your receipt of it when it comes in. They're due by November 5th. I'd like to try and keep to that to the greatest extent possible, and I am going to be helping with some reminders going up to that. And the reason for that is simply because you have to turn them around to get them public on December 1st, and it's not a huge amount of time to do a review. It also is really pushing it on in terms of looking at structuring the Momentum Summit if we push it any further back. If you get them earlier, that is awesome, and I guarantee you that I will be very excited to read them as they flow in. A little bonus, and bonus points, we always like to have photos from campuses, and so I'm always on the lookout for banner images, cover images, things to use on the promotion of both your work, but also the work in general. So if there will be a space in submitting it where you can submit a banner image. And again, I will be reminding you a bit about this closer to the deadline, but be on the lookout on your campus for photos. These are photos from a handful of our campuses. That are really great and emblematic of the sort of things we want to celebrate with respect to CCG. So getting help. You're not on your own on this. And if you have needs to look at stuff, there are resources on the CCG website, completegA.org/plan2021. There's no space there, and I'm not sure, but I don't think plans has to be capitalized. Although if it comes back without a capital P, try it with a capital P. But the instructions are there. Strategy survey link is there. The preview is there. The narrative overview instructions are there. You can also submit it there. And this presentation, both as a presentation form but also as video, will be available on that website. And again, you can always reach out to me. I am available to you, and I really, I'm happy to walk you through the process. I'm happy to hear your feedback on the process. Also, really important to me to hear what your views are on the feedback on the report process, both the strategy survey and the narrative reports. You can always get me at email. You can always get me at my cell phone or my office phone. Little secret, just between us, my office phone rings to my cell, so you can get me pretty much at any time. Again, I really appreciate your time for this today. I really appreciate your efforts in doing this work. If there's any way in which I can support you in this work, or if you have any questions, please do reach out. I look forward to seeing your reports, and I look forward to working with you. Bye-bye.